Alrighty, if you have a desire for fantasy sports knowledge and winning money with a bunch of shenanigans sprinkled in between, boy, do we have a show for you. This one, The Sweat, Jessie, Emerson. We will be delivering said shenanigans for the next 60 minutes if you didn't know.
Well, as for that DFS knowledge part, you're going to want to listen to these guys. It's our NBA panel consisting of the Action Network's Matt LaMarca, Alex Bertha of RotoWire, and Awesemo.com's Josh Engelman.
Let's hit our audience with that pick and roll animated graphic, please. Gentlemen, it's our second 11-game slate in 3 days. So who would you rather roster tonight?
Starting with James Harden, who is the most expensive player at 11-2 against the Hornets. Meanwhile, LeBron James is $100 cheaper facing the Pelicans. Who do you feel like paying up for, Matt?
Yeah, I think for cash games, it's pretty clearly LeBron James. Just carrying a monster workload right now, night in, night out. He's played at least 38.5 minutes each of the last 4 games. He's averaging close to 65 DraftKings points per game over that time frame. And it's just a great matchup versus the Pelicans. I have no interest in fading James in cash games. But I do think you can make a pretty interesting case for Harden in tournaments. He should check in with much lower ownership. And even though the fantasy results haven't been there recently, the amount that this guy dominates the basketball is just unheard of. He's failed to hit his salary-based expectations in 5 of the last 6 games, but he still posted a usage rate of over 41% during that time frame. The rebounds and the assists have been a little bit down. If those come back up, I think he could be looking at, a huge fantasy performance that really no one on the slate can match. So I think that he's the more interesting option for me in tournaments.
Alex, you want LeBron or Harden?
I'd prefer LeBron here. If we're talking about pressure, and stars usually step up in pressure-filled situations, I think LeBron is the most pressure on him right now. And aside from that, the Lakers are expected to, this matchup that the Lakers are in, the implied total is 12 points higher. Charlotte and the Pelicans don't have great defenses, but the pace of the Lakers-Pelicans game is a lot higher. And like I said, I think LeBron's back is almost against the wall at this point. And for $100 cheaper, I feel comfortable with LeBron.
Josh, do you agree with these guys? Do you think LeBron's just in a really good spot?
Yeah, I do. And I agree that LeBron is pretty much a no-brainer compared to Harden from a cash perspective, just because of the way this game lays out. LeBron will be owned more than Harden. I think that's the right answer as well. So I definitely prefer LeBron. I am interested to see how Harden looks now. They're going back to the starting lineup with Gordon and PJ Tucker instead of Fareed at the 4. Not sure it matters all that much, but it is something to keep an eye on. But for me, it's just LeBron.
All right, sensational rookie Luka Doncic did not miss a beat in his return from a 2-game absence. 59.5 fantasy points on Monday. He's 9,300 tonight against the Pacers, $100 more than Kevin Durant, who visits Miami. So which guy do you like more, Alex?
I like Durant here. Doncic is going up against the Pacers. They have the second best defense in the league in terms of defensive efficiency. And the total of that game is only supposed to be 215, which is very low, especially on this slate. For the Warriors, you have DeMarcus Cousins, who is not going to be a part of this game, so a lot of that usage is going to get spread elsewhere. And in this scenario, I think I'm going to go with the star power. I'm going to go with Durant.
All right, what about you, Josh? Durant, $100 less, averaging 7 more fantasy points per game.
I'm not super wild about either guy tonight. If I had to pick between the two, it's probably Durant. I don't love getting much of anything from the Mavs-Pacers game outside of Dwight Powell, I guess, because he's really cheap. It's just a low total. Indiana's defense is good, and there's just too much to go around in Golden State for me to be comfortable. So for me, it's more of a pass on both guys than anything else.
Okay, Matt, if you had to pick between these two, who would you go with? Or are you a lot like Josh and not really hot on either one?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Josh, but I will say that if I had to pick one of the two, I would go with Doncic, as crazy as that sounds. Since the trade deadline, he's just had to do everything for the Mavericks. He's a threat to lead the team in points, assists, and rebounds every single night. So he's had at least 10 boards and at least 8 assists in each of his last 3 games. to go with the fact that he can obviously get you, 20 plus points. So I do think that he has the better ceiling just when you consider all the weapons that are available in Golden State.
All right, a couple of mid-range centers you might be interested in are Jusuf Nurkic, who's $7,500 against the Celtics, and Jonas Valanciunas, who's $100 less against the Bulls. Did I butcher that? Stop laughing at me. Who do you like more here, Josh?
Jonas Valanciunas,
yes.
Probably.
I meant that.
Yeah, can I pick a different center from the Grizzlies?
Yeah.
No.
I think I would honestly rather prefer Joakim Noah to Valanciunas tonight if I'm picking between them. I don't really want much anything of Nurkic, especially now with Cantor there. Too many bigs, too many ways for him to lose a couple minutes. So Jonas would be my pick, but I'd probably just transition to Noah with Ivan Robb being doubtful.
All right, who are you going with, Matt?
Let's go with Valanciunas.
Yeah!
I actually really like Jonas tonight. I think that he approaches 30 minutes with Robb out of the lineup, and he's averaged over 1.5 DraftKings points per minute since joining the Grizzlies. So just, huge potential. 7,400 feels like a lot for Valanciunas. He's a guy that we're used to seeing, more in like the 5 to 6K range, but he's just getting more opportunities now than he ever did as a member of the Raptors. And I think he gets even more opportunities for a shorthanded front court tonight.
All right, Alex, where are we going?
Yeah, I have to agree with these guys. Valanciunas to me seems like the better option. The Grizzlies front court's pretty decimated by injuries, and that's compared to the Portland front court, which just added Enes Kanter. And at the same time, like Josh said, I think I would prefer Joakim Noah, if anything, just for the price. I mean, Joakim Noah's been just playing out of his mind lately in terms of, getting fantasy value. So, yeah, if I had to choose one, I would go Valanciunas against the Bulls. I don't think they have the front line to contain him.
Thaddeus Young against the Mavericks or Josh Richardson clashing with the Warriors. Both are $5,900 here. Who do you like more, Matthew?
I'll go with Richardson. Again, I don't think that these are guys that you necessarily want to target. The Heat, especially, like Magruder is going to play, Justice Winslow is going to play. Their thinness is more in the front court than in the back court, but I just think that situation is a little more clear right now than what is going on with the Pacers, who are back at full strength. Basically, Kyle O'Quinn's not going away, so I will roll with Richardson in a pace-up spot against the Warriors.
Alex, who are you rolling with?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Thad Young here. I mean, Domantas Sabonis being out opens up some front court minutes on Indiana, and I do like Kyle O'Quinn more than Thaddeus Young in this spot, but we've seen Thaddeus Young go for 40, 50 DraftKings points in the past, and I think that could happen again tonight, and that's almost 10 times value as a maximum upside for him. So he's the way I would lean tonight.
Josh, take your pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go Thad Young. I don't see Josh Richardson picking up too much of a benefit from Whiteside or James Johnson being out. I didn't see anything in the data that says that he pops up when those guys aren't on the floor. I have Thad Young grading out as a better play. I'm oddly high on Thad Young on a day-to-day basis, so that could just be my Thad Young bias creeping out, but give me Young today.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. We're going to chase or fade some game spreads with you guys coming up, but on the other side of this break, we're going to bring in our golf panel for a Honda Classic preview.
Get ready to set your sights on DraftKings' free-to-play basketball brotherhood contest. It is presented by Netflix's Triple Frontier, which stars Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, Garrett Hedlund, and Pedro Pascal, available on March 13th. Now to play, you got to form your own brotherhood here, consisting of 5 players who can hit from deep. Why? Because only 3-pointers matter. That's it. Nothing else. Just threes. So take your best shot with 5 players from the main slate while staying under the $50,000 salary cap. Now, the more triples that fall, the more points for your brotherhood. It's just that simple. Basketball Brotherhood contest run throughout March, so step back behind the arc, make it rain for a chance to win cash prizes, all courtesy of Triple Frontier, available on Netflix March 13th.
Tomorrow, the PGA Tour returns stateside as the Florida Swing kicks off at the Honda Classic in Palm Beach Gardens. So here to help us figure out who to roster and what to do is our PGA panel, DK Live duo, Jeff Ulrich and Matt Jones, plus Awesemo.com's Jason Roslin.
The name of the game is PGA pin placement, so where will the following players finish at the Honda Classic? Jeffrey, let's start with you. Talk to me about Gary Woodland here.
Old Gary Woodland, hey? Yeah, I mean, I don't know where. I feel like Gary Woodland has a very good chance of winning this week, but I mean, he's kind of been boom or bust here. He's not a good bunker player, and he is kind of prone to just making that one big mistake. And you've seen that in his results in the past. He's like either been T60 or like top 6, right? So he's playing really well this year. Really great strokes off the tee. Pretty much almost every start was finished well last week. I'm going to still say that, maybe this course just isn't quite the best for him. I'm going to put him at a T40. I think he disappoints a little bit this week. Nothing against him with the way he's played. He's a little bit boomer bust for me. I'll say way back at T40.
Shared runner-up honors at PGA National 2 years ago. Matt, you told us last night on this show how much you loved Woodland, saying he's in a smash spot. So why is that, and where do you think he'll finish?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of blew it yesterday by saying he was going to win, so I can't really I can't change my mind now, right?
No, you can't unless you want to. Phony.
No, I'd never turn my back on Gary like that. He is the longest active cuts made streak on tour going right now. Like 65% of his rounds lately over his last 8 starts have been in the 60s. Like he's just been smashing. I don't really see that changing this week. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with that call from last night.
Love it, baby. Sticking to your guns. Jason, what do you think? A tour high 6 top 10s this season.
Yeah, I definitely like the conviction coming from Matt personally. So here's the thing with Gary. Last week, his strokes gain approach numbers didn't look good. But if you dig a little bit deeper, he was still in the top 15 in greens and regulation. So obviously, there's probably a little bit of skewed there. He might have had a bad shot on an approach that totally skewed those numbers. So I like the ball striking still. He's an elite. This field is relatively weak. So, even if you look at where he didn't finish here, good here a couple of years ago, you just don't have as strong a field. So I really like Gary Woodland. I got him at least at a top 10, and I think he's going to give Justin Thomas a run for his money this week.
What about Lucas Glover here, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to poke holes in Lucas Glover right now. Like he hasn't always been the most reliable guy, but he's coming in 5 of 6 cuts recently. All 5 of those have been in the top 20, so he's been playing well. And I think the thing that popped out to me at his last start was that he was under par on the par 3s, which I think is going to be important here with these difficult par 3s. So I'm going to put him at like a T15 this week. Jason,
you think he's going to have another top 20 finish here?
Yeah, this was tough for me. The par 3s are interesting, and Koepka actually came out and mentioned that they are going to be playing them a little bit easier than they were last year, at least for the course setup-wise. It was so brutal last year. I can't get fully around on Glover. I got him making the cut, though, and something in the T30 or T35 range. I don't see a ton of upside. There are some other guys in the spots that I'd rather go to.
Jeffrey, where are you going on this one?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jason. He's definitely overpriced this week. Like, I mean, Lucas Glover's actually been playing great, but the thing is, he's not really a good enough putter to get in contention most weeks, and his short game can kind of leave him, and he is prone to the odd blow up as we saw in Phoenix. So it's a good course for him. It's a good setup. U.S. style sort of scoring. Probably the winner is going to be in single digits, but man, probably just going to be another T25, T20 for Lucas Glover, because that's pretty much what he does when he gets in this mode, which is, it's a good mode to be in. He's a good ball striker, but I can't put him any higher than that.
Jason, where do you see 2013 Honda Classic champion Michael Thompson finishing?
Yeah, this is one of the probably most interesting conversations of the week. This guy is kind of burst out of nowhere over the last 3 starts. He's now ranked number 1 in the reshuffle category, which means he's going to probably get in quite a bit of events. This one is really interesting. We've never seen him priced this high, so I think a lot of people are probably a little nervous to play him at this price. But, man, the form looks really good. I got to see him at least getting through the cut and probably somewhere in the top 20 upside. I don't know if he's going to continue that top 10 in form that he's been on the last 3 weeks. I think that's probably going to regress at some point.
Yeah, Jeff, 4 straight top 15 since the T9 at the Desert Classic. That's pretty hot.
No, I mean, look, I was touting Michael Thompson to the whole West Coast. This is a talented player, second at the U.S. Open in 2012, very good amateur player. He's been very inconsistent over his pro career, but I mean, he's a former winner of this event. And he's putting together, quite frankly, the best stretch of his career thus far. The thing is he going to top 10 every week? Like, no, he's not going to. And you're probably going to see a little bit of a regression at some point. And I wouldn't be shocked if it came this week. The course has changed a little bit from what we saw on the West Coast. It's a different putting surface. All it takes is like one sort of mediocre week with the putter, and he's going to be down a bit. Although a lot of his strokes have been gained through approaches, so maybe that's not quite the case. But I still feel like this might be the week where he just goes like T40 instead of a T10, and that's fine. I mean, I don't think you have to get off him at all or anything. He's obviously up in price. He's not like a super value anymore. But I'm going to say it's the week he dips down a little bit. I think he's getting a little bit too popular. I'll say T40.
Matt, where does Michael Thompson finish? And would you be a little nervous paying $8K for this guy?
Yeah, I kind of am. I mean, like, he won here when, like, started from the bottom was popular. Like, it's been a while. So, and the last time we saw him, he barely hit 60% of his greens. So the putter kind of saved him at Riviera. I'm gonna say he misses the cut this week.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right,
I don't know. I'm just not sold. The 8,000 is scaring me off. He's going to be a little too popular, and I don't know. I think he has some potential to disappoint this week.
Okay.
Jeffrey, how about Zach Johnson? This guy going to cost you $8,700.
Zach Johnson? Who rosters Zach Johnson? I mean, I don't know.
Reed does.
I never roster Zach Johnson. At 8,700 this week, I can't really endorse him as a play. He just hasn't really been doing enough. I mean, look, he had some stretches last year where he was actually really solid. Probably should have rostered him like every week, but I don't really see him in that mode. And the Honda Classic, PGA National, it should fit his style of play. He's got a pretty good record at TPC Sawgrass, but he hasn't really done much here his last few visits. Again, you look at his recent form. Maybe he gets it going this week, and if you want to pay up for like a low-owned GPP play, I think that's fine. I don't really have much to say, though, and I'm just going to say probably scratches out a cut, T30 for Zach Johnson. That's just kind of the player he is.
Matt, what do you think, Zach Johnson?
Yeah, I'm on the same page here. I'm thinking like 35th, 40th, somewhere around there. He's just not really doing what we're accustomed to seeing him do. Like of course he's able to grind, on difficult courses like this. But he just doesn't seem to quite have it. Like, he hasn't been in the top 25 since, I don't know, like last fall. So yeah, I'm all good on Zach Johnson at 8,700.
Jason, you think he's overpriced? You're trying to stay away like these guys?
Yeah, I got a rule of thumb with Zach Johnson and a few other guys, and it's if they get above 7,500, just look the other way. In this week, I see maybe T45. He's priced at 8,700. There's just nothing showing me. Him and even the new caddy. He had a caddy for quite a while. He changed it at the beginning of the season and just hasn't done anything with this new caddy yet. So maybe just trying to feel each other out. I don't know. But yeah, T40 at best. I do think he probably makes the weekend here, but not somebody for 8,700. We don't want somebody just making the weekend.
Shout out to the new caddy for not doing like the birdie dance, though. I mean, that's a big plus to Zach Johnson's game.
Looks like everyone's on board with that one. Let's jump right to
but you do get to see it with Ali Schneider, gents, though.
Oh, no, I know he still exists, unfortunately.
Yeah. Ali would need to make a birdie for that to happen.
That's true.
All right, dudes, we're jumping right to Slate Approved Picks. So who is your lock of this whole thing? Jason.
Oh, man, it's really tough to go against Justin Thomas right now. I know he's the top priced on the board, but, man, he's hot. He's going to get a win. It's Justin Thomas. He's going to cruise to victory.
For a repeat, Jeffrey, who you got?
I'm going to go with Daniel Berger. T2 in Puerto Rico last week, finished really strong. I think the change from Bermuda Greens really helps him. And he's flashed some pretty elite ball striking at times already this year. I think people are a little bit overlooking that. So Daniel Berger.
Matt wasn't too hot about the Puerto Rico Open. We talked about it yesterday. But who's your Slate Approved for the Honda, bro?
Yeah, I mean, it's Gary Woodland. Like, I can't hop off this train now. It's got to happen.
Love it, man.
Yeah, love it, guys. Thank you so much for your help, Matt and Jason. Jeff, we're going to thank you after you drop hockey knowledge on us in the next segment. But first, we're tossing it to the one and only Pat Mayo.
Machado, it's just interesting to me that I think initially there was a lot of like, oh man, this is the worst place he could have signed, Petco.
Yeah.
And I get it. Petco's not but it's not terrible.
It's not awful, actually.
They moved the fences in a couple years ago.
They continue to move them in.
It's played as sort of like a league average park. It's better for left-handed batters than it is for right-handed batters.
Yes.
Unless you're Bartolo Colon. And
Amazing.
I get that it wasn't the ideal spot.
Yeah.
Let's say he signs in like St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have him at 21, or is the 21 a reflection of Petco a little bit?
It's a reflection a little bit. Also, the lineup slightly.
Yeah.
If you look at these guys and their rankings last year and just straight 5x5, I mean, Lindor 7, Machado 11, Story 12, Bregman 14, Baez 16, and Turner 25. We get to Turner in a little bit. I am a little low on Machado. Again, I think it's just. I'll reference that again with the outfielders and some of what I feel after the top 30. It gets a little slim pickings for me, but with Machado, looking at some of his numbers, he did benefit a little bit from playing in Baltimore and the AL East.
Well, I mean, his numbers in 2018, I will say it wasn't always like this. Like, he wasn't necessarily someone who in 2014, 2015, 2016.
We're just waiting for him to break out at that point.
But he never really had the massive home road splits. But in 2018, before he got traded, they were really apparent. So I don't know how to make too much of it, but a 331 ISO and a 471 WOBA at Camden in just over 200 plate appearances last season. Wasn't nearly as good in Dodger Stadium or anywhere else.
Yeah.
So that's fair. That's fair.
I feel like what we got from him last year, he could probably duplicate that. 84 runs. Like I said, I don't think he's a 100-run guy in San Diego. There's some question marks of the guys behind him. I have some question marks.
Could it really be worse than Baltimore, though, for, 90 games?
Yeah, 90. And even in LA, he was. I thought he was actually fine in LA.
Yeah, if you ask people how he did in LA, because they didn't win the World Series and because he wasn't great in the playoffs themselves, people would say he did poorly. But, I think he hit like 13 home runs.
He was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah, in fact, if you were a Machado owner, you're probably satisfied with the move anyways to go to a better ball team. But no, I don't think it'd be much different than Baltimore, and answer your question. But I mean, 84 runs is that's what I'm saying. I think he can get back to some of his numbers, maybe a slight decrease in home runs and perhaps RBIs. Those are hard to predict anyways. But again, San Diego's, some of the guys behind him, there are some question marks there.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about Renfroe and a guy that strikes out a lot, maybe can put it all together this season. Hosmer is a guy,
I think this really helps Hosmer, though.
It should, because somebody's going to get on base for him. And then there's Will Myers behind him, who's never been able to really, over the past couple of years, put together a full season. So it's not that bad. And I agree, it isn't that bad.
I'm no expert, people, but I do have the internet. It appears the NHL is expecting some fast-paced, high-scoring action tonight. 5 games featuring some of the most dynamic players in the league.
Wow.
With 4 games rocking 6.5 totals.
Wow, sounds like a pretty good time.
Facts.
To bring back DK Live's Jeff Ulrich to help us with tonight's tiers contest. Jeff, how you doing?
Great.
Great. All right. Fantastic.
I bet you are.
All right, let's get into some hockey. So tier 1 has Patrick Kane, Nathan McKinnon, Nikita Kucherov, and Austin Matthews. So who's the best pick here?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people are going to side with, probably just go back to Patrick Kane, who had his point streak broken, or maybe McKinnon in an okay matchup against the Canucks. I like Austin Matthews, and quite frankly, I just like this Toronto-Edmonton matchup. I mean, there's so much things going on here. You got Connor McDavid going up against Austin Matthews. You got Connor McDavid going to Toronto, kind of like a hometown game for him, basically. And then you just have a good offensive team going up against one of the worst defensive teams in the league, in the Edmonton Oilers. So I think Austin Matthews here for a big night. He's actually been really good over his last few games, too, riding a point streak coming in here. And then, I mean, again, you just look at the other picks. I mean, the Ducks for Kane, not that great a matchup, and you've got to figure this guy's just ready to cool off a little bit. McKinnon and the Canucks, again, not the greatest matchup. It's not a bad matchup for McKinnon, but he's been a little spotty. I like going to Austin Matthews in this tier quite a bit. I really like targeting that Oilers Leaf game, both sides.
And because I'm a glass half empty kind of guy, who is the worst pick from tier 1?
Oh, God, you're so negative, Emerson.
You know what? We've been working together a little too long, you and me, Jeffrey.
Let's just call them the not best pick.
Okay,
Oh,
sounds
that's
great.
so Canadian and nice.
Everyone's good in this tier, okay? have to be.
Everyone gets a trophy.
I hope everybody just has fun.
That's how I make my picks. I just want to have the funnest.
Yeah.
I don't care about money.
I love that.
No, okay. I'm going to go with Patrick Kane. Again, I mean, I just feel like the Ducks, they're not a good team, but it's not like they've been allowing a ton of goals of late. I mean, 2-1 games, 3-1 games. Like, it's not really the greatest situation for Pat Kane. And again, he's been on such a long streak. Finally snapped. You've got to think there's just a little bit of a cooling down period here. So I think Patrick Kane is also going to be very popular still. I think people will just continue to click him. So you got the popularity going against him, the fact maybe not the greatest matchup. And then, again, we got to expect a little bit of aggression. So I'll go with Patrick Kane as the fade.
All right, tier 2, you got Johnny Gaudreau, Braden Point, Leon Draisaitl, and Steven Stamkos. Who do you think is the funnest pick here?
I'll be the hometown, whatever you want to call it, the hometown people. I'm going to go with Leon Draisaitl, basically, from the Edmonton Oilers, what I'm trying to say here, guys. Okay, so, again, goals in like 5-6 straight games, scored twice the other night. Just basically was pretty dominant against a pretty good Nashville Predators team without Connor McDavid. And now McDavid's coming back. Again, the Oilers, the Leafs, it's either the highest or the second highest implied total on the slate tonight at it's over 6.5. So the Oilers, again, not that great a team, but again, Toronto tends to get in these shootouts. And I really feel like the Oilers going into Toronto with McDavid coming back, I think they're going to score some goals. And I'm expecting kind of a 5-4 kind of game here. And I just like riding Draisaitl while he's hot. I mean, this guy's got nothing else to play for except scoring goals, getting that 50-goal mark. So I like Leon Draisaitl in this tier.
Jeff, let's jump down to the last 2 tiers. This is where you could really win a tiers contest if you're smart. Who do you like the most in tier 7?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you're doing these tier things, you got to look at the combos, stacking plays, and Kasperi Kapanen, the Toronto Maple Leafs, been playing alongside Austin Matthews at even strength. This is a player who's playing like 18, 19 minutes a night, and he's been very productive over his last 10 games here. I mean, 10 points. So yeah, so I mean, point per game over his last 10 games. You've got the ice time. If you go with Austin Matthews, you might as well just take Kapanen and stack this game. I mean, that's how you tend to win these tier things, right? So I like going with him in this tier.
All right, well, who are you rostering in tier 8, the working man's tier?
Tier of the working man.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just call it the scrub tier because that's kind of what it is.
Oh.
Dylan Strome just really sticks out. I mean, I know I kind of mentioned, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, or not the Mighty Ducks anymore. The Anaheim Ducks aren't necessarily the greatest matchup, but you look at some of these other players, and I don't mind taking a shot, I guess, with like a Tyler Johnson or a Gordy from Tampa Bay. I mean, it's a great matchup against the Rangers, but they're maybe due for a little bit of regression too. They've been so hot, they've been playing a lot. Dylan Strome, he plays on the first line power play. He anchors the second line with good line mates, like a scoring line mate. And then who else do you have? Like, I'm not taking a Duck. I'm not taking like Henrique or Richie, even though it's a pretty good matchup for them. They just don't score. There's just no offense. You never know what you're going to get there. So I think Dylan Strome, it's probably going to be like the most chalky play, but I think you just eat the chalk here and you try and differentiate at other tiers.
I would have gone Charlie Conway or Adam Banks, but that's just me. Before you take off, how about your slate approved pick?
Oh, was I supposed to have a slate approved pick tonight? Oh, yeah.
Just make something up.
So I've been talking up the Toronto, the Edmonton game. Just pick Connor McDavid. He's back after 2-game suspension. He's going to Toronto. It's like angry narratives. It's like 2 narratives twining together. It's like Ghostbusters crossing the streams here. You're going to get a big event. I think you're going to get 2 or 3 point game from Connor McDavid. He's actually quite cheaper than some of the other top plays. So give me some Connor McDavid here.
You're not supposed to cross the streams.
Oh my God.
No, but look that's how they saved it. They had to do it at the end of that movie, Emerson, to kill the giant marshmallow man.
Yeah, it's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It's not the giant Marshmallow Man.
Okay, you guys stop fighting.
Okay, sorry, buddy.
Sorry.
Listen,
All
I'm
right.
a Ghostbusters guru, bud.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm sorry for my co-host.
Thanks,
You are done for the night, so if you have any more issues with him, take it up on Twitter. NBA Game Spreads edition of Chaser Fade is coming up after this.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Nick Foles is a free man. Eagles GM Howie Roseman announced on Wednesday that the former Super Bowl MVP will not be franchised by Philadelphia. This means that Foles will be an unrestricted free agent, be able to choose his destination with no restriction. There was a possibility that the Eagles could place the franchise tag on Foles and then facilitate a deal for him to acquire some assets, but it appears that Philly is going the classy route and simply letting the QB, who delivered their lone Super Bowl title, go. As for where Foles could end up, a previous report from the NFL Network noted that Jacksonville Jaguars and Foles have mutual interest, while NJ.com reported that Foles would probably be interested in signing with the Giants. In 7 games played for Philly this season, including the playoffs, Foles was able to throw for 1,880 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He will join the likes of Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor, and Ryan Fitzpatrick as free agent signal callers looking for a new home.
Welcome back to The Sweat, and welcome back to our NBA panel. The Action Network's Matt LaMarca, RotoWire's Alex Barutha, and Awesemo.com's Josh Engelman.
We have gathered you here for Chase or Fade, Game Spreads Edition. Simply put, will these teams cover the spread tonight? So the Celtics were just awful last night. They got crushed by the Raptors, losing by 23.
Ew.
They'll try to end their 3-game skid tonight when they host the Blazers. So despite Boston's recent struggles, they're favored in this one by 3 points. Action Matt, Chase or Fade, the Blazers rather, should be favored.
Completely fade. I think that this is a great time to buy low on the Celtics after they just got humiliated last night. If you look at them, they've been really a Jekyll and Hyde team in terms of their home road splits. They have a net rating of plus 9.3 at home and just plus 1.3 on the road. So tonight's game is in Boston. I think that certainly they deserve to be favored, and I think that they should cover this spread.
All right, we do know Terry Rozier, right?
He's out.
He's out.
Yeah.
He's not going to play.
That's probably a good thing for Boston.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Lots of drama behind the scenes there. We can all just feel that tension. Alex, what do you think about this one? The Blazers should be favored, you think?
I mean, I think this line is good. It makes sense that, it's a 3-point line with the home team being favored. But yeah, honestly, I would pick the Blazers to win this game. So I guess I would have to say I think they should be favored. The Blazers have been playing really well lately. They've gotten contributions from CJ McCollum, Jake Layman has kind of come out of nowhere. You have Yusuf Nurkic and Enes Kanter. They have a nice front line now. It's a very complete team. And I think, the Boston has been great at home. That's true. But I do still worry about some of the chemistry issues, and the Celtics have lost some very winnable games in the past. I don't know. I'm leaning Blazers here.
Engelman, where do you sit on this?
Yeah, I'm Team Boston here. I think that they probably try to focus a little bit after that beating they just took. Portland's 3,000 plus miles away from home. That never helps. I can't look at this Boston team with Kyrie, with Horford healthy, with all the talent that they have, and think that Portland should be favored in this spot. So I like Boston -3 in this game.
They did get stuck in an Emerson College elevator yesterday, so maybe an omen for this game.
Yeah, I saw that.
Wow, that looked terrible. Okay, the Clippers are 9.5-point underdogs against the Jazz tonight. Now, these teams are only half a game apart in the West standings, so to me, this seems like a pretty big number. Alex, Chase or Fade, this spread is way off.
I don't know about way off, but I was surprised when I saw it. I figured this might be closer to like 6.5, 7.5 points. The Clippers actually play surprisingly well. They have a winning record on the road. Lou Williams has been playing really well. Danilo Gallinari. I mean, I guess my thoughts on this are similar to the Trailblazers, where they had these, they have these role players coming in hot. Patrick Beverley's been playing well. I don't know. For some reason, I would not be surprised at all if the Clippers kept this game closer than 9, despite trading away Tobias Harris. They've played really well lately.
Josh, 9.5 points. Do you think it's way off?
No, it looks about right to me. Tobias Harris being gone is, the main reason behind that. I assume it's closer to that 6.5, 7 number if he's still there. It's a big number, but I greatly prefer Utah. I think that they're slowly but surely rounding into form. Rubio is a fantastic DFS play today, so I've had my eye on the Jazz for quite a bit of the day. I would lean towards taking the points, but I don't think that the line is off in any way.
All right, Matt, what do you think? Is this spread way off?
It's definitely a number where you kind of scratch your head a little bit. but it looks like the Sharps are not scared of it. I mean, the Jazz right now are getting only 59% of the bets, but those bets are accounting for 85% of the money wagered. So the big bets that are coming in appear to be on Utah. And if you look, Utah is outscoring teams by roughly 7 points per game at home. The Clippers are being outscored on the road by roughly 2 points per game. So it kind of makes sense, especially when you consider, that the Clippers are no longer the same team that we saw earlier in the season. So even though they're only a half game apart in the standings right now, it wouldn't shock me if by the end of the season there's a pretty decent gap between these two teams.
The Warriors are in the 305. That would be down to Miami to take on the Heat this evening, and they're 9.5-point road favorites. Josh, DeMarcus Cousins has been ruled out. We talked about this at the top of the show. So please chase the fade that Miami actually manages to cover here.
No Whiteside, no James Johnson, a couple other guys banged up. Goran Dragic not back healthy completely. I don't think that, unless the Warriors had a really fun night partying in Miami, I'm not super worried about this one. And, the Miami nightlife has gotten teams before.
Yeah, it has gotten all of us. Right.
But we're not professional athletes, sorry.
That's true, so we can roll in here hungover.
Yeah,
that's fine.
We don't do that.
Matt, what do you think?
I think that was very unprofessional, Emerson.
I agree, Matt.
Sorry, Dad.
Very unprofessional. I'm gonna go with the Heat here. Just the Miami nightlife is undefeated, man. I mean, maybe not as much as the LA nightlife, but it's definitely a factor. You look at Golden State coming across the country, they're gonna have to cover, a 10-point spread roughly on the road. I think it's just a lot to ask. I'm not so much worried about Whiteside being out because what does he play, like 24 minutes a night anyway? Like Bam Adebayo, I think should be able to step in pretty admirably in his place. I don't feel super confident in it, but I think it's probably a smidge high in terms of the spread.
Alex, does Miami manage to cover here because Golden State might have been out a little too late on South Beach?
That's always a good reason to consider taking Miami, but I think I'm going to go with the Warriors here. Not exactly a hot take, but the Heat are banged up. They've been playing really poorly lately. I think they've won 2 of their past 10. It's just not a good look for them. And I think, even with DeMarcus Cousins out, the Warriors are obviously a very strong team. I think Durant can have a great night. Curry's in a solid position. So overall, I'm just going to take the Warriors covering here.
How about a closer spread here? The Pacers are just 1-point favorites over the Mavericks, who have the league's longest current losing streak of 5 straight L's. So Matt, Chaser fade, the Pacers are the easiest cover of the night. We did hear, though, that Tyreek Evans is out for the Pacers. So just take that into consideration here.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What will we do without him?
I'm going to fade this being the easiest cover of the night. I think that this is a pretty tight game. I don't have a huge feel for it one way or the other. There are some other games and totals that I like more for sure. It wouldn't shock me if the Pacers covered, of course. Dallas has a pretty nice incentive to lose games moving forward. Their pick goes to Atlanta unless it falls in the top 5, and they obviously have those 2 future first-rounders going to the Knicks as well. So it would make a lot of sense for the Mavericks to try and lose some ball games here, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout for the Pacers.
Alex, Chaser fade, the Pacers are the easiest cover of the night.
I'll chase this. The Pacers have, even without Victor Oladipo, I'm surprised at how well they've been playing. Coach Nate McMillan should get some consideration for Coach of the Year. I don't think that should be considered a stretch of the imagination. The Mavericks just have no incentive to win. Luka Doncic, he's going to play really well. I believe that. But I don't think they have the firepower overall to take advantage or I guess go up against the Pacers' extremely good defense.
Josh, where are you going on this one?
Dallas has been really good at home this season, but I'm leaning more towards the Pacers. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but for some reason the Mavs have been dusting off the corpse of Dirk Nowitzki a lot more lately.
Yeah, baby.
I love Dirk. Probably my favorite player of all time. He should not be on a basketball court for 24 minutes, and I don't think things will go really well for Dallas if he has to do it again. So I'd rather go to the Pacers.
All right, excellent work, you three. Please go get those showdown picks ready for the last block of the show. We are going to be talking football, yes. You heard that right. Next.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash, and we have some quarterback news coming out of the NFL Combine, but no, it's not about the hand sizes of various prospects, an actual QB in the league. New York Giants head coach Pat Shurmur said that he fully expects for Eli Manning to be back in 2019. Well, I think Eli can help us win games, Shurmur said Wednesday, and he proved when the players around him started playing better that he can play at a very high level and help us win games. So at this point, I want Eli back. There was some doubt about whether Eli would be back with the Giants after they have fallen off over the last few years, and Eli hasn't been the best under center. If released, the Giants would also save $17 million off of their salary cap. And despite the likely return of Eli Manning to the Big Apple, that probably won't stop New York from looking hard at drafting a QB with the number 6 overall pick this coming spring.
There are exactly 190 days until September 5th. That is when the 2019 NFL season kicks off Thursday night. Until then, we'll have to settle for the Combine this week, the draft coming up, free agency, training camps, and these two gentlemen speculating quite a bit. Hello to DK Live's Pierce Dietrich and Steve Buchanan.
It's NFL Spin Move when you guys put a DK spin on some of the top headlines. So, Giants head coach Pat Shurmur saying today he fully expects Eli Manning to be back with the team this season. Wah, wah. So the Giants didn't win many games, but actually Eli wasn't that bad, throwing for more than 4,000 yards, a career-high incompletion percentage, and 11 interceptions, which is the fewest he's thrown since 2008. So most people expect the Giants to take a QB in April's draft, despite the coach saying he does expect him back. So do you believe Eli has played his last game as a starter, Steve?
You know, usually when GMs, coaches say things like that, it means the exact opposite. Oh, yeah, he's our quarterback for the future. We're going to go draft a quarterback. But this is the Giants. I kind of have to believe what he's saying. I mean, I think they'll still draft a quarterback. I think that is definitely going to happen there. Maybe he backs up Eli Manning for one more year, and then they kind of make a little switcheroo there like the Chiefs just did. It's really hard to think that they're just going to go away from him. Everybody knows that they should. Everybody knows how bad the Giants have been. I mean, we know the Giants have been linked to Haskins in the draft, but man, it must be tough being a Giants fan. I feel for you guys. It's brutal. But yeah, I think he's just going to be there next year. It's unbelievable.
Pierce, what do you think? Has he played his last game as a starter?
No, I don't. And I'm with Steve. I think they draft a quarterback and they stick with Eli for at least, probably for a year, maybe half a year. I mean, if you remember, Eli didn't start right away either. He backed up Kurt Warner. And I'm a firm believer in letting these guys rest. As you mentioned, Mahomes, that seemed to work out backing up Alex Smith. You've got Carson Palmer, who backed up a John Kitna, that Brady backed up Drew Bledsoe. I mean, the list goes on and on of these guys backing up quarterbacks on their last. Like, look, Drew Brees backed up Doug Flutie. Aaron Rodgers had to wait 3 years. It's pretty common for these guys not to get on the field right away. I know it's the new trend to throw these guys to the wolves, but I mean, even Baker Mayfield had to wait a little bit. So let the guys learn the game a little bit.
Blake Bortles backing up Chad Henne for 5 games. Let's not forget him.
Let's go, baby.
Okay, well, sticking here in the NFC East, the Eagles have announced they will not be placing the franchise tag on Nick Foles, speaking of the Jaguars, making him an unrestricted free agent. Do you believe, though, this will have a positive impact on Carson Wentz next season now that he doesn't have Foles looking over his shoulder? Pierce.
I think it'll have a positive impact because he'll just play some games and be healthy. I don't believe that he was looking over his shoulder. He wasn't benched. He got injured. His numbers, if you can see on the side of the screen, 3,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Those are pretty good numbers for 11 games. You extrapolate that over a full season, it's 4,300 yards, 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's pretty good numbers. I think it's only up from here. He's only 27 years old. He's getting ready to hit the prime. He's going to have several really good years. I don't believe that he was ever looking over his shoulder.
I don't know, Steve. What do you think? Because it seemed like this guy could not ignore the noise. You saw some of the reports that would come out of the locker room as well that the players really enjoyed, like Foles' presence a little more there.
I mean, it's hard to ignore the noise. Ignore the noise when you're on bed rest because you're injured again. Yep. So all you have to do is time and just sitting there and cruising on Twitter. But look, I think the offseason's really going to dictate how the Eagles feel about Wentz. They really don't have a backup quarterback right now. It's Nate Sudfeld. Do they want to keep that? Probably not. Then you look at the free agent class, and, well, it's not going to be Nick Foles. I mean, that's the top guy right now. But after Foles, it's names like Teddy Bridgewater, Brian Griffin, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tyrod Taylor. Like, it's a really, really weak class. So didn't really make any moves. And yeah, Wentz is going to be the guy. But like Pierce said, he wasn't really benched because of his play. He was benched because he was hurt. Yes, his numbers were great. He was looking fine. He looked like he was back to form. Just another unfortunate incident that sidelined him once again. But the injury concern has to be there, and that's why I'm really interested to see what the Eagles do in this offseason and kind of go behind Wentz now that Foles is gone.
Yeah, you got to be smart with this guy, man.
Nick Foles looking over Carson Wentz's shoulder, more like Nick Foles saving everybody's chances. Blah, blah, blah. All right, Raiders GM Mike Mayock said free agent tight end Jared Cook is going to test the open market. So he was the Raiders' leading receiver last season. Steve, which team would allow him to have the most fantasy production?
Anytime we talk about a free agent tight end, the answer is going to be go to the Saints. That's the only team that you need to go to. Ben Watson is gone. Only have Josh Hill, Dan Arnold. We see that Drew Brees likes to throw to his tight ends in the red zone. This would be the absolute best spot for Jared Cook to land. Obviously, there's a lot of mouths to feed in that Saints offense, but Jared Cook, we've seen him utilized in the red zone with the Raiders. He'd be a fantastic pick with the Saints there. I feel like that's the no-brainer spot to go. You could talk about the Miami Dolphins as well, but that is just such a cluster right now. I don't think Cook wants to go and purposely go to that situation.
Do you think the Saints are the ideal landing spot for Cook, Pierce?
Yeah, I mean, it does make a lot of sense. He could be your next Jimmy Graham / Jeremy Shockey, but maybe he's not that good. You look at what he did for the Raiders. Who else did they have to throw the ball to? If they had another decent receiver, I mean, if you put Larry Fitzgerald on that team, Cook looks a lot like Jermaine Gresham. I don't know if he really is that much of it. I think the Saints, maybe they go after him. You could also consider the Lions. Ebron played really well in his last season there. The Bengals have lost all of their tight ends, and they really need to move on. But this could be another miserable move if they put him on the line. But the Saints probably look like the obvious pick here.
But Pierce Mayock also saying he believes Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. But if you're a believer of mock drafts, then you definitely should not be. Some have the Raiders trading up to number 1 to select Kyler Murray. I understand mock drafts are not real, and you could literally write anyone's name in there, and fans will buy into it. But do you believe Oakland needs to move on from Carr already?
Well, this goes back to what Steve was talking about earlier when a GM says someone's elite or they're a franchise player. That sometimes clues us in that they're about ready to kick the guy to the curb or maybe move them. But 69% completion rate last year, 250 yards per game, 19 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Those aren't the greatest numbers. They're pretty good, though, when you consider his best weapon was Jared Cook, and he didn't have an offensive line. You give him a receiver, you give him an average offensive line, and he will be close to a franchise quarterback. They've got 3 first-round picks. Why don't you try to move some of that to get Antonio Brown, maybe get a little bit better offensive lineman, and you could be, I don't know if you're going to contend in that AFC West, but you're going to have a better offense.
Didn't have Amari Cooper for most of the year as well. What do you think, Steve? Should they just cut ties and move on from Derek Carr?
I don't know. I mean, new GM sounded pretty convincing. Maybe it's just because, he's new and he's just trying to test the waters. But, he sounded like he legitimately wanted to keep Carr. And, kind of what Pierce said, he didn't really have much to work with. I mean, that team was absolutely abysmal. And they have all those first-round picks. Quarterback is not the area that they need to prove upon first. They need an edge rusher. They need some linebackers. They need some receivers. They need some cornerbacks. So I need to keep going. You need to revamp almost the entire team. Carr is probably down on the list on what they really need to improve upon. You give him some guys. We've seen Carr before. 2 years ago, he looked unbelievable when he was out there. So it's just, he's got to have a better cast of characters surrounding him. If they want to build upon him, he's still young. He still has it in him, I think, if he gets some good teammates around him. So I believe him. I think they should hold on to him. But, who knows with the Raiders? I mean, they're kind of like the Giants. They have no clue what they're going to do next.
Aren't they paying him a boatload of money as well? I don't know who would take that contract.
Aren't they paying a boatload of money?
Yeah, it's just monopoly money. It doesn't count.
It's not real. Just kidding. Thank you, guys. One more block to go here for us. We got NBA price check to cover.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. And just days after LeBron James highlighted that the Lakers need to avoid distractions, in comes a 6'10", 253-pound one in Anthony Davis. Los Angeles will host the Pelicans on Wednesday night. And of course, this showdown contest is full of drama. This will be the first time that Davis and LeBron have shared a court as opponents since Davis requested a trade from New Orleans, and the Lakers made a very public campaign to try and acquire him. The Pelicans have limited Davis's playing time since the deadline passed and even held him out of their previous matchup with the Lakers on Saturday. In that contest, Davis's potential future teammate in LeBron James went off, dropping 27 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, and 4 steals. For tonight's showdown contest, LeBron is the top price guy at $12,400 for a standard roster spot. And with Davis, he does have some value tonight as his standard price is coming in at $8,600. Davis's lone game against the Lakers this season was an absolute monster performance where he dropped 30 points and 20 rebounds back in December. Of course, that did come before his minutes restriction, and that said, if he does come anywhere close to that to flex his worth to a potential new home, he could be a big factor this showdown tonight.
Okay, we got about 10 minutes here until NBA lineups lock. So if you haven't been paying attention, now would be the time.
Matt, Alex, and Josh are back. It's NBA price check, and Clint Capella is $7,300 against the Hornets. He hasn't had a 40 fantasy point game since January 7th.
That's a while
ago. Is he overpriced tonight, Matt?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a deceptive statistic. Since he's only played six games in that time frame. While he's been hurt.
Doesn't matter.
It's like saying Michael Jordan hasn't scored, 20 DraftKings points since 2005. Like
it would be true.
We're not lying.
We're not lying.
I didn't say you were. I said you were being deceptive.
Well, wow.
I'll give him.
I think that 40 points is too high, though.
Okay, so it is too high.
Your original question. They're just a little deeper now than they have been in the past. They have Kenneth Faried there, who can play some center minutes. Josh already mentioned that they're going back to their lineup with Faried coming off the bench, so I could see a slight reduction in minutes for Capella. I think that there are definitely better values at the position.
Josh, sorry if we've misled you with our the way we asked that question, but where are you going on this?
So he's a little overpriced, but I'm interested now that they've made the lineup switch. In the minutes that Capella has been playing alongside of Kenneth Faried, he's seen a really large dip in his rebounding rate. If he's going to be playing less minutes or perhaps no minutes with Faried alongside of him, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Faried just moves to a straight backup 5 role. I think Capella could get there. He has talked about not being fully healthy and fully back yet, which gives me a little bit of pause. But I'm not totally off of it because of the lineup change.
Alex, is $7,300 too much to pay for Clint Capella?
Yeah, I'm not that interested in Capella at $7,300. Like, I think he is, he's always a candidate to go for 40, 45 DraftKings points. And I get what Josh is saying, with Kenneth Faried not in the starting lineup anymore. It makes more sense, I think, to play Capella than it would otherwise, but the whole situation still kind of makes me nervous.
Okay, Draymond Green is only 5'9" against the Heat. Would you consider that cheap for him, Josh?
I think it's very cheap for him. I've been really crazy about Draymond lately. I liked him a lot more earlier today before the Bam Adebayo news came out. Draymond was looking to be one of my value guys. I still have him third at the position today. He's been playing at a 1 fantasy point per minute rate for the past 30 days. And now we have no Cousins, so we should see a couple extra minutes at the 5. I love him. He's just going to give you a line in a really weird way of like 8 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, a block, a steal, whatever. I think that he can pay that tag off.
2 nights ago, Alex had 46 DK fantasy points in 34 minutes. You like this price point?
Yeah, this is a great price point with DeMarcus Cousins not available. I think, the Warriors can run the lineup that we're more used to them playing with Draymond Green a lot at center. He can be the hub and facilitate a lot of the passing, not only in transition, but in the half court. Against a Miami team that, isn't exactly doing very well right now, I think it's a good spot for him to take advantage of DeMarcus Cousins' absence.
All right, Matt, I hope you're okay with this question.
Yes, much better wording. I'm a fan. I like Draymond Green. I'm not as crazy about him as these guys are. I think it's a very fair price. I'm just not sure what his upside really is. I agree. He's a fantasy point per minute type of guy. He's probably going to see around 34 minutes. So, yeah, I think he can very reasonably give you 5.5 to 6x value on his salary. I don't see a lot of 40-point games in his outcomes.
Okay. D'Angelo Russell has at least 50 DK points in 3 of his last 5 games. That's kind of a lot. So is he a steal at 8,700 against the Wizards' crappy defense, Alex?
Yeah, I think so. Like you mentioned, the Wizards have the 27th. It's the third worst defense in the league, and this is a game that has the second highest implied total. And D'Angelo Russell is just running things for the Nets right now, playing at an all-star level. He's gonna not go up against a lot of resistance. Unfortunately, I don't have any hot takes. I don't have any huge numbers to back this up. The Wizards just aren't very good. It's a fast-paced game, and D'Angelo Russell is playing his best basketball of his career right now.
So he's a steal at 8,700, Matt?
Yeah, I think it's a good price for him. I mean, Russell has always been a very good contributor on a point-per-minute basis. He's at 1.38 DraftKings points per minute over the past month. And the big change is now that he's getting an opportunity to play, 36 minutes a night. That's something that they were a little bit reluctant to do early in the season when they had Spencer Dinwiddie. But now it's basically the point guard position is his. So given the matchup and just the upside that he's displayed recently, I think it's a very good price for him.
Josh, matchup plus minutes equals this is a good deal.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal. He's a little bit more popular than I would like him to be today, but it's not as if I'm off of him. I'm just not going to be able to get up above the field. It doesn't get much better than a matchup against Washington. Defense hasn't been fantastic. Game should be a track meet. He hasn't been as impacted by Karis LeVert as I would have expected once LeVert got back, so I have no issue going to Russell.
All right, Karl-Anthony Towns is coming off a ginormous 73 DK point performance against the Kings 2 nights ago at 10-6. He's the 4th highest priced player on this whole slate. So what makes you think he's worth the change, or maybe you don't, Matt?
Yeah, it's a really tough call tonight at the top. I've already kind of stated that I think LeBron is going to be the most popular option. He's got, the highest ownership projection at Fantasy Labs. I think he's got the highest ceiling projection. But then when you get down to Harden, Giannis, and Towns, it's really close for me. I think that Towns, given the matchup versus the Hawks and given that Jeff Teague is out of the lineup, is definitely a strong play. He's averaged 52 points per game since the team traded away Jimmy Butler with Teague out of the lineup. I'm just not sure I like his upside as much as Harden's or Giannis's, who are right in the same ballpark as him.
Okay, Josh, you going to pay up for this guy?
Yeah. Karl-Anthony Towns is the best play on DraftKings, bar none, ignoring Bam Adebayo now getting 30 minutes. I don't even see it as particularly close. The Atlanta Hawks are really, really bad defensively. From a fantasy perspective, Towns is going to soak it all up. His assist rate sees a monster boost when Jeff Teague is off the floor. I have him in for 65 DK points today. He is the guy that has the most exposure for me outside of Adebayo.
I mean, Alex, this seems like a guy who has the makings right now to be flirting with top 5 value as we come down the stretch.
Yeah, I think so. And, like we mentioned, Jeff Teague being out and the Timberwolves not having a ton of other options, consistent options, at least on offense. Andrew Wiggins taking 25 shots and making 8 of them aside. Towns, he's averaging 5 assists a game pretty recently, and he's really just becoming a giant usage hub for the Timberwolves, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get the double-double bonus with him. He's going to hit a lot of threes. You get some nice bonus on DraftKings for that. Against this just bad Atlanta Hawks defense with a fast-paced matchup, it is a really good spot for him. And I was a little surprised that he was only 10-6. But, with a lot of other top-tier options on the board, I can understand people going elsewhere. I just, I think if you can find a way to get both Towns and LeBron in your lineup, I think that's a great way to go tonight.
All right, 90 seconds left. Last one. Who is your slate-approved pick, your lock for tonight's entire 11-game slate? Who are you going with, Alex?
I'm actually going to say Kyle O'Quinn for the Pacers. Super cheap. Plays really well without Domantas Sabonis available. It's possible he get burned, but I think he's so cheap you literally have to throw him in there.
Matt, your slate-approved pick.
So we just mentioned the matchup for the Timberwolves. I love Tyus Jones tonight with Teague out of the lineup. He's basically a lock for 27 with upside for close to 40. I'll pay that at 4,500 every single time.
Josh, slate approved pick.
Bam Adebayo. Can't get away from him with Hassan Whiteside out. He's going to play as many minutes as he can handle at the 5. They don't have anybody behind him. He is my clear top option. I have him more than I have anybody else. If I can only recommend one guy, it's Bam Adebayo.
That's a show, guys. We appreciate it. We got about 20 seconds left, which is less than the number of sauces that Guy Fieri is going to have at his new chicken finger restaurant.
Yeah, he's going to have 22 sauces.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys knew that, but
if
yeah.
you took the over on that one, wow, good for you.
You got the donkey sauce?
Chicken tender place. Who knew? We'll be back tomorrow at 6. See you then.